This is the FRC Roundtable, coming to you all the way from Minnesota. Your host team 2052 Nightcrawler presents this weekly FRC gathering where FIRST Robotics competition teams take cooperation off the field. Share your knowledge, give and get advice, solve a challenge, or celebrate what makes your team special. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, the recording has been started. Why don't we do kind of an open um, introduction for anybody who wants to share who they are. I'll start off. My name is Scott Davis. I'm a mentor with 2052 Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler is hosting this call.
I'm Nate Smeal. I'm also with Nightcrawler.
I'm John Stratus. I'm with Rovettes and FUM, and also a lead robot inspector.
All right. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? Otherwise, we'll just jump into how things are going.
Sure, I can. I'm Ryan Swanson. I'm the lead mentor for Team 6045.
Hi, this is Senthil from Team 2530 out of Rochester, and I would like to be part of the discussion, learn from it. I'm a first-year mentor, so there is mostly learning.
Jason Herzog, 2030.
Jeremiah, Ashby, Minnesota. First year veteran, second year rookie. I don't know, whatever. If that makes any sense.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Does anybody want to share what they learned this week with their robot? Any questions or advice they're looking for? I think our plan for tonight is we're going to spend the first half, maybe the first half hour, or until we run out of topics, talking about building robots and this year's challenge. And then our plan is after that, after we run out of robot topics, or we hit about 7:30 time frame, we're going to switch and start chatting about things that are not technical. So the topics that were brought up last week were outreach, fundraising, inspiration award, submission, anything that that's basically administrative or the business part of the team. Hopefully we can spark up some good conversations with that for the last half of our meeting tonight. So anybody have great success this week and learn something new and exciting that they want to share with the group? But this does not bode well for Minnesota robotics. Nobody had a good week.
Well, we sort of, I sent out a group message yesterday to the kids, and the robots picture, and I said, it doesn't look like we made a lot of progress after 6 hours, but we made a lot of progress because we were able to iron out some of those, fine-tuning detail positioning of our arms and grabber and those kind of things. Just before you start building things and start replacing and removing them, and we were able to spend like 4 hours doing those kind of things. So when you look at Agile Robot, it doesn't seem like nothing was done on it, or anything was done on it. But in actuality, the things that's going to be done on it actually been kind of ironed out. So I consider that progress.
We tackled April tags this week after not thinking about it at all in about one session. We've been using this little tiny camera that I'll throw in the chat. The fan runs nonstop, and it enough to make the whole thing move because the fan is like half the camera. But it's the built-in software is pretty good. And was really easy to get up and running. The whole thing is like the size of 4 flash drives. So it's nice and tiny, $50. They're in stock, which is probably the most important thing right now. So we've had good luck with that. We'll see how we use it. We haven't tried how much range we can get or what kind of angle, but it seems like it's reasonable across the board if you're just trying to go up to the grid and use the April tag to score, right? You got a position there, that it'll work just fine. So.
Do you need a shield to connect this to the Arduino, or does this use the DIO ports on the Arduino?
So we haven't gone that far of connecting to the robot yet. We were just running it straight into the computer with the USB cable. I remember them having some explanation about connecting it.
So why did you decide to use this camera instead of just a webcam?
I think the built-in software here for picking up April tags was quite fast. Did not deal with, right, because it's more than just a camera. There's a board in there. It's got a quad core processor, and so one student who had done nothing with vision before, who had some programming experience, had it up and running and detecting April tags in a matter of about an hour. So I'd consider it comparable to a Pixie, but we picked it up just to see, because it called out Aruco and April tags specifically as a feature of it itself. Whereas the Pixies, I don't believe people have gotten Pixies to work with April tags, but I don't know that they have official support for them.
Very cool. Thank you for the resource. This is awesome. We will definitely look into this.
I have a question, Scott. So you guys are talking about this camera and the Microsoft webcam. So is that good to assume to say maybe don't do Limelight if you want to venture with with an automation system, robot awareness?
Does anybody else want to take their thoughts on using a Limelight this year?
So Jeremiah, we have a Limelight also, and we've had good success with it in the past. It's been fairly straightforward and easy to get it set up and going. The thing is, the Limelight costs $400, right? The camera costs $50. So, in the past, there have been instances where we would have liked to throw 2 Limelights on, but dropping $400 on the second Limelight seemed like a stretch compared to other things we could buy. Right? And so, and Limelights have been out of stock, or hard to get for a while. It looks like the Limelights have added support for April tags. That being said, there was no information about whether Limelight was going to add support for April tags, besides one post where Brandon said that they might have something coming, until about 2 weeks ago. So going into build season, we had picked these up not knowing whether Limelight would ever add April tag support. Right, so it's one of those situations where it's like, this is what we had based on the decisions of the time and whatnot. For your scenario, if you have a Limelight, by all means, I'd say use it, because it's
because we're inexperienced. We don't, So I told the team this year that last year our goal was to build a robot and make it move 1 foot, and that was our goal. And we beat that goal, which was great. And so I told them this year, our goal is, again, we now have to build a robot that runs, because, we surpassed that last year. But this year we want to add one air component to it. One mechanism is air control, and do something automation like camera system. And so we don't have a solid programmer or any programmer, matter of fact. So once again, we're kind of building a robot without really programming as we're going along. And it's something that the team is struggling with. However, I still want to keep those goals in mind while we're going along building a robot and placing things where they're supposed to go. But then when it comes to the programming, aspect. So my question really is, which way would any of you guys advise a newbie team like myself that has such aspiration, regardless of the money? I mean, money is a major factor in all of this, but also success and learning opportunity is also a big factor for me.
So I will say that we're not putting a lot of time and effort into the vision portions of programming this year compared to what we have in other years, just because we feel that the value is not there in this game, right? Especially since our team decided that we were going to go for cones, right? And the cones do not have a nice April tag right in front of them on the posts, right? It's off to the side, right? And so we looked at that and said, if we're going to go for cones, let's not worry about April tags. We had a student who really wanted to tackle it, and we didn't have anything else to tackle yet, so they went after it last week. But my view is that you're going to get more value out of driver practice than you are out of setting up your vision processing and spending the time with the robot. And especially if you haven't done vision processing before, you're going to need time with the robot to get it to work. And that driver practice is going to, for the same amount of time, you're going to get more value out of driver practice than you will out of programming. And there's going to be plenty of programming challenges to do with your robot without vision being one of them. That's
Okay, great. I think that's great advice. The other thing that I'll add to this is that I think, especially for a low resource team, whether it's students or money, the only reason that I would advocate for doing a camera system this year is to do auto, because you're scoring right in front of your driver station. So you shouldn't need assisted kind of aiming or anything like that. Hopefully you can mostly see what you're doing by just scoring right in front of the driver station. But also going forward regarding the Limelight, it's a very, very expensive vision system. And First has claimed that they're going to use April tags going forward and may not use reflective tape at all. And so a $50 camera can do April tags. You may not need that very expensive system. So since it doesn't add a lot of value, like Jason points out this year, I would definitely wait and see what happens next year and instead use a basic webcam to accomplish whatever you think you need to accomplish this year.
So those Microsoft webcam that we receive should still be able to accomplish this this year's game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we got one. We have a really, really old one that is, I don't even know how old it is, but we bought a brand new one since it's sort of the official camera. We used our first points to get that. And then we're going to first try to do the onboard RoboRio image processing and then move to a co-processor if we feel like we're not getting the speed. I don't know if everyone else is planning on just using a co-processor to begin with, if they're planning to do April tags. Anyone else? I know that we had a few people last week who were saying, "Oh yeah, we're already testing it with a co-processor."
Yeah, and if you aren't using it for autonomous with the April tags, that camera is just perfectly good for streaming video back to the drivers to help lining up for at the human player station.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We
think
are sorry. The question asked by Scott. We are thinking of using photon vision with Limelight, but we are like newbies. We have to figure out best optimized way of utilizing it.
Yeah, I would suggest to Jeremiah just getting the provided whatever the Microsoft HD cam or whatever connected and getting a reliable view. I foresee scoring on the grid in the spots in front of your driver station. Being the primary means. If you're on the right hand side, you score in front of your robot until you can't, and then that's where you may need the camera view to make sure you're aligned. I know you can have drivers can move within question how far out their controller or whatever they use, so coaches to help aid in too. If you walk down the driver station wall to make sure your robot's aligned as well before placing your piece.
So to follow up with that question, and I will stop because I know there are other people in this call too. I have a lot of questions always. So, and please correct me with my ignorance or lack of experience. And so, when the game starts, the first 15 seconds, the robots also have to go onto the charge stations. They can do that too, right? So
Yes.
now, how do you achieve that? Speaking of a guy who just doesn't know what's going on, for the most part, figuring it out as we're going. Someone please
That's going to be a hard challenge,
So
especially if you don't have good programmers trying to balance on that charging station.
and Jeremiah, I would say, right, only one robot can score on the charge station during autonomous. There are
Okay.
3 on the field, right? So, in the order of things I would tackle, I would first tackle, can you score a game piece during auto, right? Anywhere. Okay? And then can you leave the community and get those points,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then worry about getting onto the charge station and leveling it, because there's probably going to be someone else who can do that, right? And since only one of 3,
Yep.
it's not a lot of teams need to be able to do that.
Totally agreed with Jason. The other thing I would add is I do think the leveling aspect is maybe overrated. I think with open loop code, most likely you could drive backward with an appropriate drivetrain and get fully supported by the charging station, which you can get significant points for doing that. The leveling aspect, I think, maybe is a little bit less important. You just need to get some of those points to enable the ranking point, so that only 2 robots need to be on at the end game rather than 3. So I don't know if you have the opportunity to build like the at-home version of the charging station. We haven't gotten to do that yet, so maybe I'd take feedback from others. But you should just, with open loop code, drive back a set amount or for a set time and have at least a shot of getting points.
Yeah, I was even thinking, if you used your gyro and you made sure it crossed over to the other side, like if you drove far enough to make sure you tipped it over, went level, and then went tilted the other way and then stopped or something, maybe that would help indicate that you fully made it up on the thing and then have tilted it. So, I mean, trying to think of the most basic way of making sure that you get parked fully on the charging station, because that is, like Ryan said,
I talked to our programming students at the end of the meeting on Saturday, and they had already written the code to do the balance. Of course, we haven't been able to test it yet, but they use I don't know if that's yaw, but they use the gyro to determine that they were starting to detect that I'm driving upwards, and then starting to detect that it's tipping down, and then stop the robot. So as soon as the angle sort of reaches peak and then started heading back down, they would stop driving. So I think their implementation was smart. I think I'm excited to see them test their code, but they had sort of come up with that solution amongst them and implemented the code. So now we're ready to test it as soon as we can drive our robot.
Scott, that YA is through the Apple tag reading or through the NAVX, or what
There's
kind
a
of device?
built-in gyro. No, that's not true. We have a
So
gyro mounted on our Rover Rio. We use a NavX, but there's a pigeon gyro that is very popular as well. And there's some really low-cost gyros too that don't have as much fidelity, but they should certainly do this job just fine. But you can mount a gyro board on top of your Rover Rio, and there's a couple of different spots that you have the option to mount one on your Rover Rio.
So the NAVX is the most used
The one that we use
product.
is NavX. I think right now, I don't know what the group thinks. I think the Pigeon sounds like it might be the more popular one these days. Does anyone else have any thoughts about which gyro is people are using
If
the most?
what we're doing this year goes as planned, I know that we ordered a couple pigeons to use. We've used Navex in the past, but I think we're switching to pigeons because it allows more flexibility with it being smaller than a Navex, and not taking up space. Except, I guess, with the Navex, if you mount it on the Robo Rio itself, but then that kind of dictates, where your Robo Rio has to be placed if you want it close-ish to the center of the robot. And so
That's a
we're
good point. You don't have to mount your gyro on the Rover Rio. You can And we've done that too, where we run a ribbon cable from the Robo Rio to the NavX, and we put the NavX right in the middle of the board. Um, I think the Pigeon, doesn't that plug into the SPI port? Is that right?
It's got a CAN, but I think there are other.
Oh, it can.
It's CAN, and if I remember right, it has higher resolution than the NavX and less drift. But it's
CAM?
also
What is it called?
Pigeon. It's Cross the Road Electronics makes it.
Crossroad Electronics?
Yeah. So look them up. It's called a Pigeon 2.0.
Yeah, GEON 2.0. Thank you, guys. I never know about this.
Yeah.
We use a NavX because we have two of them that we've had for years and they still work. So
Yeah.
the
The NavX 2 does increase the resolution, Scott.
Okay.
It's like twice the resolution or half, depending on how you want to look at it. But
the Pigeon increases the resolution or NavX? I'm not.
There's a second version of the NavX that
Yeah,
is
I was gonna say that.
the original.
It's like $109.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be curious to hear everybody's feedback or impression from the Everybot, the 118 Everybot reveal. Yeah, what do people think about it? What ideas are people going to be taking from it? All that.
Everybot.
Ryan, can you post a link to the Everybot website for those who don't know what that is?
Yep, I'm looking for it.
It's a fantastic robot. They just, I mean, I don't know why it has to be so tall. I think that was the big, I don't know, but I thought it was, because I think Scott and I had talked about it a little bit earlier, and it's just, I don't know. I think it's a good robot, but I don't know if I would have made it as complicated as they made it, because my take from this game is small, efficient, get going. Simple might do the game for at least for our team being so inexperienced too. So keeping it simple is kind of where we're trying to go this year again, like we did last year.
I think that the Everybot this year that they've come up with is really impressive from a standpoint of what they're doing with such, with like only having 1 degree of freedom on the arm. And in almost some ways, it's making, I guess, me wonder, like, for teams that, like, it's 22 inches wide, so it's going to be able to get the triple bounce. So I'm kind of like wondering how well it's going to do at regionals and how well we're going to see it do at regional plays, because I can imagine a well-built Everybot with a lot of drive practice could go pretty far.
We're borrowing parts of the Everybot design because one, the design is done, right? Which is highly valuable, and modifying in with the rest of our mechanisms, right? And so the intake team is building Everybot intake with some modifications and pursuing a different design at the same time.
Yeah, for us, the Everybot intake is going to be, our starting point. We had our own prototype. It worked okay, but the Everybot intake looked a lot more effective. So we're going to start with that. We're probably going to iterate upon it a number of different ways. For feedback for teams who are looking into using it, from a couple teams who have already built it and tested it, the intake range is fairly tight. So for the cones, you have to approach it at a fairly specific angle and a fairly tight window to effectively intake it. So potential improvement would be looking at increasing that, the width or the effective intake zone that you have for it. Another potential improvement would be they've got it all powered off of one gearbox, meaning always one of the 3 rollers will be going the opposite direction. I think it would be beneficial to teams if all three rollers could go the same direction for things like intaking cubes off the ground. It opens up a couple of other opportunities with that style of intake if you're able to change the direction of all the wheels.
So Ryan, one of them is going the other way because you always need two of your rollers running opposite directions to pull in.
Correct. Yep. And I'm saying you want to be able to do that for cones, but if you use two different motors, you have the option to do both. So that's one change that we're going to be trying. See how it works anyway.
Yeah, immediately I just saw this video. So the one thought come to my mind is if does it pick up from cones lying in the ground in different angles? It's picking nice when it is upright and straight. Is there any
Tipped cones are a red herring, in my opinion.
I
think
think
a lot of teams will be going for tipped cones or focusing on intaking them when it'll only be relevant to a few teams operating at a fairly high level.
the thing is, I think that everybody probably they don't intend on picking up lane cones. Really, I don't think that's what they had in mind when they built that intake. It's just, but I think that's one of the things I learned from last week's roundtable is drive your focus on what you really want your team to focus on as a game piece and run with that. Because if you try to do everything, you probably won't get much of any of it. And so, like I saw this one robot in 3 days where they used a slanted elevator, but then the intake is they have to notch the cone, and I'm like, how much time do you have to notch a cone into an upright position when somebody else is also ramming you from the other side? It's just you just have to decide where you're gonna go with your efficiency. I think that's kind of what all these videos I've been watching spinning in my head. That's my takeaway from them.
Well, it's 7:30 now. I want to respect our plan for today, and we can come back to robot stuff if we run out of other topics. But now I forgot. Was it Jonathan? I forget who it was. Somebody. I have to look through the attendance list here.
I think it was Joseph, right?
Joseph wanted to talk about some things that are not related to building a robot, and I think that's a great idea. I think that everyone struggles with fundraising. Everybody struggles with the appropriate level of effort to put into outreach and the impact that goes along with that. I think that's a great kind of thing that we should talk about more frequently than we do. So, Joseph, do you have any specific questions you want to kick off the conversation with, and then we can just roll with it from there?
Yeah, my main sort of objective with this meeting was just to get have a discussion on like what this type of work looks like throughout the build season. I know for our team, a lot of business outreach, especially as far as fundraising, is done in the fall, and it usually continues into the build season, but it's not our biggest priority. And so, talking about what that type of work looks like for each team in the build season. I also want to note and be aware that this is a very, I guess, varied type of work throughout each team. I know that like pretty much every team does the work of operations or business or outreach differently. And so I want to be aware of that. And I think that is also an important thing to note as people discuss this, because I know we do business different than other teams do, but yeah. So my main question was just what is the plan, the general plan of business for different teams throughout the build season, and if there are more specific, if people want more specific questions, I have some prepared, but yeah, that was sort of the main question.
I'll share with Nightcrawler that the things that we do where we leave our space during build season are mostly around sort of evangelizing for the team. So we have a t-shirt cannon robot we have a couple of requests to come shoot t-shirts at basketball, volleyball, wrestling meets, things like that. And so we will go to make sure we have good exposure within the school and use that. We've also been asked if we can bring our robots to do demos at the elementary and middle schools during parent-teacher nights. And so we'll set up the robot in the gymnasium while kids go around to talk and parents talk to teachers and do a demo there. Nate, are there other things that we do during build season that are non-technical stuff? I mean, we're always working on our website. We did a sponsored demo. One of our if you're a sponsor at the top tier of our sponsorship level, we offer to come do a demo to your organization or your company. And we did that the day before kickoff. We try to get those done not during build season, but that could be something that could come up.
Yeah, I think you captured everything here.
Right, well, for us, our business team is actually working pretty hard. We've got paste this into the chat. An event coming up here Saturday, February 11th. That's both the fundraiser and outreach event to try and get people to come to the school, check out the robots for both us, our middle school FTC team, and the lower school FLL team, and have some fun and raise some money for all three of our teams. In addition to that, we're going out to another school that we visit about once a quarter. They have a STEM club that's real big fans of ours. And we're working on planning some events for up north at Duluth. We're going to be taking over the First Ladies Tea this year. And here in the Twin Cities, bringing back Sweet Eats. And our business team also is doing a newsletter every other week during the build season. So they just came out with the second newsletter yesterday.
So I'm with Talon Robotics. We have multiple things happening. We have a large marketing group, and this is a big time. They're reaching out to companies for sponsorship and presentations. We also are doing a food drive, raising, trying to think they want to collect 250.2 pounds of food. Our number is 2502, so that's going on. We do fundraising for the team. Also, we have some events that we do with places to buy food. We'll get us a co-event with them, and we get a subsidy if we encourage, team members to and neighbors and such to attend some of these events. A certain night, a certain time, we'll work with a restaurant and have a percentage come back to the team. There's a few things we do. Said most of our stuff is, off season, but those are a few things happening right now.
I would echo John's comment about team newsletter. That's something that on 6045 we're beginning to do this year. The goal is to keep all of our team stakeholders kind of in the loop. We send them out to all of our sponsors, all of our parents, to the school and local community. And it's been a huge way for us to kind of evangelize or, get our team out there. The other thing we're doing is we came into the year with a pretty limited budget. We, need a lot more money. We are attending a second event for the first time in team history. So, we're always continuing to fundraise. The number of students I have working on this is like 1.5. I've got like one student really focused on it, and then I've got another that helps periodically. So we've got a really small business team, and we're narrowing our focus to the newsletter and to fundraising in particular.
Question for those that do newsletters, do you feel pretty good returns on those? Something we've thought about doing, and like, I mean, do you feel like you get a lot of people kind of passively just knowing things about the team and reaching out saying, "Hey, thanks for the updates, et cetera, et cetera"?
For sure. For
Yes.
us at least, the school has commented. They're like, "Wow, your program's doing so well." We've had multiple sponsors say, "Wow, this is really cool. We're able to stay updated." I think it's a huge return on investment. It's reasonably low effort too.
Yeah, and I also think being able to send that newsletter out within your school community to other students and such can also act as a recruitment tool for non-technical type people, because they see that you're producing this sort of thing that they may want to do as well.
I think I really do like your newsletter idea. We do something similar, but not a newsletter. So anytime, periodically, I always put a blurb in our two local newspapers, and just highlighting events and things that we've done in recent times and promote what's ahead. And I think a lot of that too has helped with. We do a lot of sponsor letters, and so when the local businesses and manufacturing industries around here read those papers and then see a letter that comes to their door, and then follow up with a phone call. Put it this way: we went from a local business went last year from giving us $50 to giving us $500 this year. So it's not thousands of dollars, but hey, that's a big gap. And so just another effort where it's like those passive things actually do they do take less time, but they also can yield big results at the end. And that's kind of how we funded most of our funding last year was sponsor letters and phone calls, because I mean we're still brand new. And we're a very small team too on roster. I have 10 kids on roster, but I want to see 5. So
Can I ask, sort of, Jeremiah, jumping off of what you said, what have you gotten much interest from students from the outreach that you've done? Like, what is the demographic of people that you have communicated to that has sort of been the most responsive, whether that's sponsors, parents, families, or like students? I know that we have struggled being a bigger part of our school communities. And so I wonder what have been the ways that you reach out to different demographics individually.
So for us, I mean, we don't have a lot to compare with, but I really been pushing hard for us to make our presence felt around here. Um, my other neighbor in school that just started a robotic team the same year we did, and Alexandria and Fergus Hall are the only two the Autobots are the two veteran teams that have been around here. So being a smaller town, we really been pushing, driving, say, hey, we here. And most of that also within our own school. When we were in the cities, 10,000 Lex, doing regional, the school, they did a great job of putting those on the TV screens in the building. And when we came back, it was a good reception too. And having us do STEM day with our elementary, and also just host local things where the kids, when the county was having a county fair, we were in there. And so we had a robot there. So the kids could come around, drive the robot, push a button, make it do something. And so even though right now we have very low attendance rate, I think low because I have big goals for these kids. However, with the sixth, fifth grader and sixth graders, they are jumping at the bit, can't wait to join. Unfortunately, I don't have an FTC and a Lego League program because I'm just one person and I'm already losing my mind. And my wife is killing me. If she knew I was on this call right now, the camera would be shaking or something. However, the future looks bright with those outreaches because the younger kids are, they're like, hey, Mr. Miller, can I join? I'm like, yep. Seventh grade, eighth grade years. And one of the things I also started talking with them is I'm like, even if you're in sixth grade and you want to kind of check out the program and see if something interests you, stop into a practice, see what's going on, put your goggles on and just, hang out with the bigger kids and see what's going on. So it really does say something, just creating that awareness that you were there. So, and there are parents that are here. I'm struggling with getting them to volunteer that time, but they also out there, spreading the news to places and people, to the employers and those kind of things. It was through the parent actually that we got a $6,000 grant, for her employer. So that's that means a lot. So it's just something to think about.
I have a fundraiser that we did new this year that I want to share. We started it over the summer. One of my clients sells coffee roasters, and they also roast coffee. So we started selling Nightcrawler coffee, 2050 brew, not 2052, but 2050 brew coffee. And we sold a couple of different brands. We sold a medium roast blend and a dark roast blend. And then we roasted a Colombian coffee that was grown by all women farmers. And then we also sold an extra dark coffee that for the people that prefer the Starbucks like extra dark bitter coffee. And it went really well. We sold at farmers markets. We went to the farmers market. I think every other week we would sell at the farmers market, generally. And then of course, we sold to parents and mentors and stuff like that too. It was a really good fundraiser for us. Because Nightcrawler is a nonprofit, we can basically buy the coffee wholesale and we get wholesale prices, which is, I don't know if anyone knows anything about retail, but retail almost always has 100% markup. So you make, if you spend, I think a lot of our coffee was $8 a bag. That was our cost, bagged, labeled, everything delivered to us in retail ready to sell packages. And we sold them for $15 a bag, which that was a 1 pound bag. The coffee roaster actually told us we should be charging more, but we felt like $15 was a nice round number, easy to get, cash and make change and all that stuff. And it worked out really well. We Since 2020, our school was involved in one of the racial protests in 2020, and we've had a lot of really. We looked internally to the team. We're talking about equity and talking about the things that we do on the team and how we can be more equitable. And one of the things that we decided we had to do was we had to stop doing fundraisers where students were required to sell a certain amount of stuff or anything like that, because we all know that when you do that, the parents just buy all the stuff. And so this coffee fundraiser, especially by selling them at the farmers markets, meant that any kid who wanted to go could go. They could help participate. They could help raise money for the team. But we've had to remove several of the fundraisers that we had done in the past because it just wasn't fair to the families who couldn't participate at a level that was reasonable. And so this fundraiser has worked out really good for us. We ended up letting go of some fundraisers that we had done in the past, and I feel like this one did a good job of filling that gap. By the way, if anyone wants to sell coffee, and I suspect through my connection we can get you coffee even if you're not a business. Otherwise, Nightcrawler could probably help you out. But it's a really great company. All of the coffee is brewed in Minneapolis, so it's
So
locally
are
brewed
you
or locally roasted.
are you saying if anyone want to sell coffee as a fundraiser or buy your coffee?
No, if you want to get connected, I can get you connected with the company so you can sell Ashby coffee, Ashby
Oh,
Robotics coffee.
hey,
Um, you're required to buy at least 50 pounds. So they won't roast coffee for you unless you buy at least 50 pounds, but
well, that
you could do 25 medium to 25 dark. And as long as it's a total order of 50 pounds, they'll take the order.
and I think no, you're right. I mean, it makes sense because and considering my community, that's one of the things I've been struggling with having no other adults is this community is really good about rounding around the school and helping things out. However, the thing I also been trying to tell my students is that I believe in fundraiser that you can give something back besides saying, "Hey, I'm building a robot and I'm learning something. Yay!" To give back to the community tomorrow. We are instant gratification society. So if you say, "Here's a bag of coffee," you know, give me 50% profit, so I can, go back and do these cool things. That's more, thoughtful and more, beneficial, probably more rewarding than just saying, "Hey, you know, support me. I mean, they have done that for us last year and this year. However, I kind of want us to change some of that strategy to say, hey, because you did this, thank you, and here's something back to you too. So I
Yeah,
might
and
be,
that's a great point. And the thing I really like about this is that it's about 50% profit. It's not like the Girl Scouts that sell a box of cookies for $7 and they get 60 cents or whatever they get nowadays.
yeah,
And it's also not selling wrapping paper that you really don't need. I mean, if you are going to buy a bag of coffee, you're going to drink a bag of coffee, right? Nobody's going to buy coffee and not drink it. Um, so yeah, I feel pretty good about this fundraiser for us. I feel like it's one we'll probably do for a long time. But anyway, I can connect anybody who's interested. It's Mill City Roasters in Minneapolis. If you want to look them up, Mill City Roasters. They're actually one of my clients, so you can even tell them that I sent them, and they can come and ask me if they have any questions of what's in the world's up with all these robotics teams calling us. Um, but they've done some fundraisers in the past as well for other, like somebody's gym or they've done a Wounded Warriors fundraiser. So it's not like they don't know what they're doing with fundraising groups.
I also want to share there are a lot of companies that do similar things, not just related to coffee. I know we have been a project that has been sort of on the back burner for a while, but something that we've been thinking of doing. We have a sponsor, Burning Bros brewing company that we've been talking to about crafting. What was it? Mythleberry Ale, which is a Mythic branded soda. So there are other local companies that do similar things for teams that you can work with. And sponsors are a really great way to collaborate on fundraisers. And yeah, I guess sort of jumping off of that, talking about sponsorship, I'm curious about the ways in which people connect with and communicate and sort of bring sponsors into the work of their team throughout the year and throughout the build season specifically.
We have multiple ways to connect. One of them is we try and see if any of the students' parents have companies that are interested in sponsorship. So we ask them to reach out. Another one particular I do is I do a presentation, bring the robotic and team for a big presentation to IEEE. And we've gotten support from them for the first time now. But our presentation is like that's the presentation for an entire meeting. So we bring the robot out, we do a slideshow and talk about the season. And I always try and bring another local team out with us. I think like last year I brought out Hopkins, or so always try and invite another team to present it as well. And that's one of the ways that we've looking to get sponsorship is doing presentations with them, and been doing presentations every year with them, bring out that robotic team or another robotic team to do that. And it's sort of good on the students too, because now they're talking to, it's one thing that, I mean, we'll go out to the state fair or something like that, and it's sort of fun for the kids to, a lot of places to talk about the robot, but here you're actually talking to engineers who actually understand and asking some pretty driving questions as to, makes the kids think, and actually it's a good interaction with people they might be working with in the future.
Eric, IEEE,
IEEE is
I mean,
is a
where is
professional
that
organization.
location or some details? How do we connect?
Yeah, so IEEE is a professional organization. So if you look for other, more known as ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineers, right? And so Eric's point, what I think is really valuable here is that with one presentation, you're hitting 20, 30 companies.
Could be, yeah. We could have, like 50 participants from many companies there. Yeah, it's pretty good, and
Mike,
then you get them to know the team and the kids to. They actually have people that in the future they might be able to reach out to for a job.
yeah, my question is specifically like, is it some physical location or it's just a virtual presentation through communication, or how does it operationalized?
Well, IEEE is an international company. It's probably the
Yes, I know
largest.
IEEE, but how do we connect with them and do the
Okay,
presentation?
well, this is sort of personal. I've been a member of IEEE for 20, 30 years. So I have connections with a lot of the people that are running the conferences and they have meetings multiple times a year. They're all free, so anybody can look them up and see when they're having a meeting and um, connect with them. What they do is every summer they put on a picnic, so to speak. It's actually Emerson sponsors the space. So it's in Eden Prairie, which makes it convenient, where they have the picnic. And as I said, I keep in connection with them and organize. I start the organization to have this done probably like 4 or 5 months ahead of time, just so it all comes together timing wise with them and timing wise with the robotics team. So everything is scheduled together. So,
yeah, thank you. I think I get an idea.
So we've had good luck, like other people said, with parents, right, and all their employers, because one, employers like to donate where their employees will spend their time or their families spend their time, right? Whether it be through matching donations or through getting to the right person in the company to get a grant, right? Especially larger corporations, if they are not transparent about who you need to talk to get the right forms and info to apply for grants, right? But the other one we've had good luck in is if people's employers don't necessarily want to donate or can't donate, sometimes they can get you into professional organizations, Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce, right? That is a collection of businesses. And then sometimes that can work you in, right? Because you can find that person in there who maybe doesn't want to mentor, but has the time to figure out the bureaucracy of their company to figure out who to talk to about donating, right? The Chamber of Commerce can be really powerful if you're in a smaller town, right? I mean, even like Hopkins is a smaller town in the metro and a more cohesive town. And so the Chamber of Commerce has good connections to the right people who want to donate to things in their area. So.
We also have a pretty tenacious, let's see, marketing mentor who has the kids now cold calling companies in Eden Prairie.
That's what we do.
She's getting them to do it, but they're learning new skills.
Yeah, we've done that before and haven't gotten good results from it.
See, and that's one of our things we have a huge success from is the cold calling. I kind of script down what they have to say and in the scenario. If they say this is what you say, and I have them make that call or make those calls. The other thing that we also try, because we live in a manufacturing hub, is I will call and say, hey, we are the Ashby Robotics team. And part of the my goal for these students is to learn about manufacturing and automation. Would it be possible for you guys to give us a tour? And then boom, we go to those tour, and then I'm like, hey, would you like to give us some money? I'm sorry, I'm a very direct person, and so the worst you can say is, hell to the no, get out of here, right? But I'm already in your door, and so usually it has worked out for us last year and this year so far, and so we capitalizing on that. So yeah, but I Thanks, guys, for this time. I really
The
learned.
one I forgot that we've had weirdly good results from is walking into auto dealerships. And it's kind of, I think it's like a 20%, 25% hit, but generally they've written us a check on the spot. Like we've walked in, given them a 5-minute pitch, and they just pulled out a checkbook and wrote a check for $500, $100.
Nice.
We don't know why, you know, and half my team was confused why we had the Mercedes-Benz logo on the robot for 1 year, but you know, that seemed to work out. Things that have organizations that have a large advertising budget, sometimes can chalk it up as advertising and then just write you a check on the spot.
Yeah, we are. Well, our school may be somewhat unlucky, but our team kind of benefits from weirdly being located in the middle of, like, I guess, a business district. So we have like a Kemp's business place across the street, and we just walked across to Powermation and talked with them about sponsorship and got pretty good results from that. So yeah, that's something that's been helpful for us.
I want to share a story that follows up on what Jeremiah said. We had a manufacturing sponsor that we had, I think, in 2018, and we asked if we could do a tour, and we went and did this tour, this huge machining manufacturing place, and followed up with a letter asking if the owner would be willing to sponsor us, and he did, and he gave us a great sponsor. Got his logo on our robot, and then I don't know if we failed to follow up the next year, and then 2020 happened and all that stuff. So this year we reconnected and we asked, hey, we got a whole new group of students, come back and do a tour again. He was super excited to have us back. We walked through the door and he was wearing his Nightcrawler pin that we had sent him back in 2018. And he had the letter up on the wall. He had it framed. He had the team photo. He was super proud of the fact that he had sponsored the team. But I was super impressed that 4 or 5 years later, he had found and dug out his sponsorship pin, and was wearing it when he gave us the tour. That was super awesome. It was great to see. It was great for the kids to see that too. So yeah, doing a tour, putting the manager, the owner, right in front of the kids, super impactful.
Scott, he probably wears it every day. So
no, not there. I don't know that. I don't know anybody who works there. Actually, it just happened to be. Honestly, I don't know how we got connected to this person. It wasn't
well,
my
he probably
connection.
wears the pin every day. I mean,
He wears the
right?
pen.
Like,
Yeah, maybe he does. Maybe it just we caught him on a Tuesday. I'm curious how many people are submitting for Impact Award. Is everybody doing that, or are some teams not doing it or skipping it?
We're not going to be submitting this year. We're focusing our business team effort on building the foundation for it, doing it in the future. Not taking the time to, submit the award, instead creating the foundation so that we have something to submit next year.
I take a similar stance to Impact. Me and our team captain Phoebe, for those of you who know her, have a very similar opinion on Impact, where we did it, I think, in 2019 or 2020, and found that it was a lot of work on our operations team. We call business operations. It was a lot of work on our operations team for something that you have such a small chance of winning. And so my personal stance on it is that, like, if No Mythic were to do the Impact Award, I would want us to have the proper documentation lined up before we decide to do it. And I would also want us to decide, preferably the year before we pursue it, just because it is such a rigorous award that requires a lot of work. I will share that we went to Worlds last year through Engineering Inspiration Award, which I personally believe is a really good award to win on a regional level, and has a lot of the same, and it might even have some additional benefits to Impact Award without the rigorous work ethic required for it. Of course, there are, I think, some benefits with Impact Award in specifically the preparation that you have to do for Impact. With EI, we were sort of lucky because the judging situation at Duluth last year was a little bit different with COVID. So we had the opportunity to actually give a presentation as a team to the judges, but mostly with engineering inspiration, you don't actually apply for it. And so we normally wouldn't be very prepared for it, but it is still a really good award to win on a regional level. You get to go to Worlds and have your admission fee paid for by NASA. So if for teams that are not considering going for Impact this year, but are looking for a similar type of deal with the opportunity to go to Worlds, I would strongly recommend looking at engineering inspiration.
There's one point, Joseph, that I'm going to disagree with you on, and that that it's a long shot of an Impact. Because to my understanding, at a regional, the number of teams submitting for Impact and meeting all the requirements is low. We're talking like 6, 7, 8, 5, 4 teams, right? So, that being said, it's a lot of work, right, to do it. But don't think, if you're willing to do the work, don't think it's a long shot of you winning, right? We've decided we earlier in the year decided we were going to make the award, and then didn't make as much progress towards it as we wanted. So we haven't submitted in a very long time. So we decided that we were going to go through all of the short answer questions throughout the season and fill those out, because those mostly are the same year to year. Your answers are similar, right? And so focus on those, and then go through those so that we are ready for next year, so it's not as much work. And because some of them are like, describe in 250 characters your community. That's not easy, right? Like as a school district that spans 8 different cities, right, and has a large portion of its students come from outside of the school district boundaries, right? How do you describe your community?
And you have it easy, Jason.
I mean, Joseph's team comes from 2 different charter schools, right? So like, they don't even have a physical district boundary. Neither does John's team, right? So it's like, and there's another 20, or there's another 14 questions just like that, where you go, okay, well, this is going to take us an hour to figure out how we're going to attempt to answer this.
And I think when you're talking about the Impact Award, especially if you aren't a team that is used to applying for it every year, it's a good chance to sort of look back at what you've done and what you should be doing in terms of just analyzing yourselves. Whether you are just going through figuring it out, or if you are starting to get serious in submitting it, going through it is a valuable experience for the team.
Yeah, I know our team is submitting. We've got a team selected, and I know they're working on it.
We're planning to submit this year. The Impactors Award is something that we tend to do once every 2 years or every 3 years. It just depends on who wants to do it, who wants to work on it. And we always feel we sort of have that imposter syndrome thing where we're like, we don't know if we've done enough to really have an impactful, impact. We don't know if we have enough to fill the slate that makes sense for us to submit, but it's good practice. And to John's point of what, it makes you think about those things. It makes you maybe do things that you wouldn't have done otherwise, because you're like, well, you know what, if we do end up submitting for Impact Award this year, this would be a great thing to put on that list. And it gets the kids thinking outside of the room that you're in and thinking about the rest of the school and the community and so forth. So who knows, you might get one of those regionals where there's not very many other people there. You might put something in your essay that just resonates with the judges. You just don't know.
To the point about the bar with which you need to meet to win the Impact Award, there isn't an event in Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Iowa that doesn't have a highly qualified team submitting the award. The bar is high, regardless of the number of teams applying. So just it is a lot of work, And I don't think that teams should be necessarily feel bad for not submitting. But and my background is I'm coming from a team as an alumni and former mentor that submitted frequently for the award, and seeing the amount of work and effort that went into it, it is significant. And while it's good practice, I would encourage you to do it if you've got the students interested. It is not something to take on lightly.
Manage expectations.
And right, so like John said, there's value in doing it besides submitting for the award, right? I mean, that's why we're going through all the short answer questions, because there's value in it forcing us to help understand our team and why we're doing the things we do. Because we looked at it and went, you have to submit a video and an essay and do a presentation and answer all these questions just to be eligible. I mean, that's days of work, not hours. So.
John, I'm
Well,
going to
we're
mute your,
fortunate that
I'm
we
muting your
have
mic,
a
John.
large enough group that we can have multiple students and a mentor dedicated to applying for awards. And I feel very good about a lot of the positive things our team has done off season, and I hope they're rewarded for it.
Well, it's 10 after the hour. Do we have any other topics we want to cover tonight before we log off? All right. What do we want to talk about next week? Anyone have any suggestions?
Driver practice.
How
doing?
about driver selection? I would like to hear how other teams are doing driver selection. And at some point here, I'd love to hear how people are doing team captain or their captain selection too. I know that when I run into coaches at regionals or in our hub meeting, that's always a great topic of conversation about how teams select their leadership.
Yeah, we just sent out our driver's test today.
We did our driver's test last Saturday. Well, part one of our driver test happened last Saturday.
Yeah, driver practice of what do people do? We've done more driver practice every year the past 2 years, and I don't know, we kind of just go out there and we're like, go practice. You know, I feel like I'm the coach. I just hand them a basketball. I'm like, go practice basketball. It's just, yeah, shoot it. I don't know what to do.
I think that could be a fun topic to talk about how different teams identify and kind of test their drivers. Anything else that we want to put on the list to discuss next week?
I would love for teams to have videos or something to share, whether that be prototypes or if teams get to the point where they're driving their robot and testing it. I would love to, have more interactive content. I think that would be valuable.
Sure, we could do a show and tell next week for anybody who's willing to share their videos. We can always go into presenter mode and you can share your videos if you want to do that. I think that would be fun too. Don't feel obligated. You don't have to share your secret sauce. If you don't want to give away all the tips and tricks you're using, but if you're interested in doing that, by all means, let's plan to do that. Sure.
In the meantime, I will plug our social media. We have been have made more of a commitment to be active on our social media, and so we are part of Open Alliance this year. So we've been posting pretty regularly on Chief Delphi with our progress on the robot, and we also have videos of our prototypes up on our YouTube channel right now. So if you're interested,
I want to see this jumping robot that Ian was talking about last week with the 8-inch pneumatic wheels. I want to see this.
The drive base is coming along.
Well, good, Ian. Give us some videos.
See how far it goes off of our charging station at full speed. Hopefully, it doesn't damage the robot too much.
I've been trying to help out our CAD group this year, and I'm learning a lot of interesting things about. I've been using Onshape for 3D printing for quite a while, but CADing a robot is a different monster for me. So one of our CAD students taught me several very cool things that I was not aware of last week. So I might pull out some screen sharing and show some of this CAD stuff that I've learned, or hopefully, or even have him do it. I see Isaac. Isaac is on the call. Maybe we can have Isaac do a little demo of some of the things that we've been figuring out. All right. Well, I think those are some good topics. What I heard was, how do you do leadership selection? How do you do driver team selection? Show and tell on any videos or CAD drawings that you are willing to share with the team. Was there another topic? I'll get it in the email that goes out later in the week if we can come up with a list. Was there something I missed? Okay.
I just want to plug one last thing. I'm not sure what teams do or where they source their batteries from. Nightcrawler typically has been buying them directly from NK Battery. Years ago, pre-pandemic, they used to be like $35 a piece. I called again to do our order. It was $45 a piece for a battery, which is still cheaper than, I think there was at $110 for a 2-pack that Andy marked. But the distribution place at warehouse in Minnesota used to be located in Eagan. It now is in Cottage Grove, I believe. And but I got $45 a battery, no tax. We were tax exempt, but then no shipping. I was gonna go pick them up, but they offered to deliver them for free to the school. So $45 a battery, up from the 35, but much cheaper than Andy Mark or some of the other retailers. So just keep that in mind. Give them a call to their main number. Tell me your robotics team. Yeah. I can answer questions too if you want. You can ping me.
All right. Any other last bits of advice? Okay. I got last week's video uploaded today. If you go to YouTube and you search for Nightcrawler Team 2052, you'll be able to find the video that was uploaded. I'll try to get this one uploaded a little bit quicker so I can get the link in the email, which you should probably get somewhere between Thursday and Saturday, depending on how many days I'm at the school this week. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. I feel pretty good about this call. It's good conversations. I really enjoyed the fact that we spent some time talking not about the robots we're building. So that was awesome. Thank you, Joseph, for suggesting that. And I will see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's FRC Roundtable. Join us live all season long, every Sunday night. Visit the website at team2052.com/roundtable to sign up for weekly invites. In the meantime, keep building, keep learning, and we'll see you next week.